So if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I love raised beds. In fact, my entire gardening operation is built out of raised beds. Now, all of these raised beds, there's 84 of them. I built all of them myself. And it may look like a lot of work, but you don't need a degree in woodworking to build a decent raised veggie bed. So before we get started, let's look at where I'm going to put this bed. So this side of the house has been neglected for well over a year, and stuff has just sort of piled up here. I've even got herb planters here, that I haven't planted since last spring. So this whole area needs to be gutted, and we're going to do that right now so that we can put in our new raised bed that we're going to build today. So let me go ahead and clean out this area. Now, building the beds is super easy. You only need 3 tools. You need a cordless screwdriver. Now, I use 2 because I don't want to keep switching out the drill bit for the screw bit, but you can get away with just 1. You need an electric sander, and you need some kind of a saw. You can use a hand saw, a skill saw, a jigsaw, or my preference, I'll be using a chop saw. For this particular bed, we're going to go 3 layers of wood high. So we're going to go alternating 2x6 and 2x4. So for the materials, all I needed was 4 8-foot 2x6s and 2 8-foot 2x4s. Okay guys, so next up you're going to need to get some wood screws. Now, I've been using these plated deck screws. You can really use any sort of screws, it doesn't matter. If you do get the plated ones, they do last a little bit longer, but it's not necessary. As for size, when you look at a screw label, there's 2 numbers. Now the first number is usually a single digit, and it dictates the width of the screw. And so I always use a level 8. It's just a great threading, and it is a good size wood screw, especially for raised beds. Now, the second number is how long the screw is. Now, knowing dimensional lumber is 1.5 inches wide, I always use 2.5 inch screws. Now, if we were to go to a 2-inch screw, by the time you get through the first board, you've only got 1/2 inch biting into the next piece of wood. It's simply not enough. Now, conversely, if you went to a 3-inch deck screw, you could pop out the other side, especially if you countersink that screw, even just 1 millimeter. So 8 by 2.5, that's what I use. So next up, you need to measure your wood to how long you want to cut it. Now, these are 8-foot boards, and I know I want a 7 by 1 foot bed, so I'm simply going to take 1 foot off each piece of wood. Therefore, I know that there'll be a 7-foot piece left over for my long side, and for my short sides, they'll all be 12 inches. So you need to go ahead and mark all 6 pieces of wood. So I've made all my measurements in all 6 pieces of wood, taking 12 inches off of each one. I'm going to go ahead and use my miter saw here to check my measurement. You always want to cut on the same side of the line for each piece of wood. Even 1 millimeter out, it can really add up. So you want to be as accurate as possible. And go ahead and make the cut. So, nice clean cut. I have one of my end caps as well as the long piece. All right, so I've got all the pieces of wood cut. Now we can start assembling. However, if you are going to stain, now would be the time to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and sand the pieces that I'm about to stain. If you're not going to stain, you can simply skip this step. Okay, we spent about 10 minutes cleaning this area up. You can see it's nice and level. I got chip gravel on the bottom. We weeded as best as possible with the big weeds, but you know, the bed is going on top. I don't really care about little weeds. They're not going to grow up through 16 inches of soil. So. Now with these simple beds, I always start with the long side first, and then we do the end caps after. Now I did need to get an extra 2x4 because you do need to make these braces to hold these three pieces together. So you want to work on as flat a surface as possible. You want to cinch those all together. Use another piece of wood here to make sure you're even. Okay. Now this piece here is going to go in exactly the width of your dimensional lumber. Okay? Because that's where the end cap is going to go. So we pre-drill our holes. We put in our screws. Check and make sure everything's even. And then zap these guys in. So check again, make sure everything's flush, and then zap those screws in. Okay, now we'll do the other end, and we'll do the middle as well. Sometimes if your wood isn't perfectly straight, you actually can't get the other end to match up, so you're gonna have to clamp it. There are your pallet holes. Check again, make sure everything's flush, and then zap these guys in. Okay, let's get that middle brace in. So let's get this middle piece in, and then our first long side is all done. Again, clamp it here if you can't get the boards tight. I got a pretty good cinch on either end, so it's pretty good right here. I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill. Line it up again with the center. Put your screws in. That end. in the middle. There you go. This side's all done. So now we'll go ahead and I'll do the other long side. So by now, your long pieces should be able to stand on end so we can get those short sides on without too much effort. So with one corner on, we can now go ahead and do all 4 corners. So that is the simple DIY raised bed done. All that's left is to pick it up and move it into place. All right, it's a perfect fit. This is a bed that you can make any size you want. You can make 2x8, 4x8, 3x6, 3x5, you know, really whatever you want to do. Just remember, dimensional lumber usually comes in 8-foot lengths. So 96 inches, if you want to use your lumber most efficiently, keep that in mind. Now, all in all, the bed took about 45 minutes to make if you don't count the sanding and the staining. So if you are going to go for a look like this and you do want to stain, make sure you account for that extra time. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, leave any questions or comments down below. I really do read them all, and I try to respond to as many as I can. Click subscribe if you haven't already. For those of you that have, I really do appreciate the support, and I'll see you next time.